power is pure psychology. Pure psychology. And what I mean by that is the CEO of a company, he doesn't get there based on, it's not like baseball, whereas balls and stars, soccer. Sorry, you probably don't understand. Probably even know
I'm a Ranger. I'm a Texas Rangers fan. I'll have you know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's not like baseball where it's balls, you have a good batting average or OPS. All right. You're going to get in the lineup. They're going to bat you in the cleanup spot. Okay. Life isn't like that. So the way somebody rises to the CEO, and I know because I was on the board of directors of a publicly traded company, is not about metrics. It's not about things that they've actually done. It's about psychology, right? People rise to positions of power because they know how to play the game, and they know how to play the game of psychology. They know how to appear. They know how to play the optics. They know how to intimidate. They know how to say less than necessary. They know all the psychological little gambits. And that's why I wrote the 48 Laws of Power. It's kind of like, this is the game of life, the game of power. The rules are a little bit nebulous, but here's how you play. You play by mastering these little psychological bits. One of them is your reputation.
I'm fascinated by reputation and credibility, especially given what I do now. But my previous life, I was a club promoter.
You were what?
Club promoter. I ran nightclubs for a very long time.
Club promoter. What do we call that here?
Club. It would just be a promoter. It's called. So marketing for nightclubs, essentially. The guy stood on the front door with the guest list and the bands for VIP and all of the hot girls' names. And then after a while, we owned a group of guys that did that. And then we owned a group of guys that owned and you start to build up this company. And in that, every single nightclub that you've ever been to is the same thing. It's people getting drunk in a room to music. It'll never be anything else. You can dress this one up pink and give out inflatable flamingos on the door, or this one's really cheap, or this one's on a Wednesday and it's sort of naughty that you shouldn't be going out on a Wednesday. Dress it up however you want. It's people getting drunk in a room to music. That's all it's ever going to be. And what I realized from doing that was the power of reputation. Now, this isn't the reputation of a person, it's the reputation of a brand. But if your company is known for always putting on good parties, then you get to benefit from that. And
what happens is, when you have a reputation for putting on good parties,
people come.
More people come.
Which
so you
makes
have
your
better
parties
parties.
good. Yep, correct. So this is this sort of odd, and this is the really important point. Never let others define it for you. And when you are vulnerable, you'll be attacked on all sides. Because as it's going up, it precedes you. It continues to do work for you, exponentially growing and growing. But when you're starting to go down, even your best work will sometimes be derogated to be worse than it is. So you have done something that is good, but because of your reputation, you're a liar, you're a phony, you're a grifter, you're a shill, you're a fake.
That's right.
Yeah, credibility is the one thing that you should never sell because you cannot buy it back. There is no return policy on your credibility.
And people are so, getting back to the word stupid, I mean...
It's a theme today.
They post things on social media when they're young, not realizing that 5 years later, when they're trying to get a job at a law firm, they're like, they're doing incredibly ridiculous things on Instagram, and that's part of their reputation. Everything you do is reflected through the social world, right? Nothing is in isolation. People are continually judging you. So you have to be aware. You have to think before you post. You have to think, how are people going to take this? If I say this stupid, rude thing that comes right out of me because I don't control my tongue, it's going to ruin one false step will ruin your reputation.
There's a British MP who is on the receiving end of a tweet from 2009, which has come back around.
I think I read about this. What was that?
You get these Estonian retards out of my house right now.
So I don't mean to laugh, but that's terrible. Estonians are very smart people.
Get these Estonian retards out of my house right now, or I want these, whatever. And she's had to do this groveling apology.
Oh, God.
But I mean, when did Twitter start? Probably 2008 or so. This is, it's early. Yeah. This is the equivalent of the Big Bang. This is the, whatever it is, microwave cosmic background of tweets. And I just love that. I really think that the reputation point can't be overstated. And, I've got to see in this industry as well, both whether it's authors, podcasters, YouTube, there are some people who have traded reputation and credibility for money or for short-term trades that didn't make sense and they've not ended up coming off in one form or another. They've tried to cash it in.
Like, give me an example. Like going to Spotify and
no, not that.
To not name names.
No, not that. Interestingly, with Joe's move to Spotify, that was something that he got an awful lot of credibility for, and that's one of the interesting things. Had it have been with a different platform that didn't carry as much weight, gravitas, they have their own reputation, it becomes multiplicative as opposed to sort of subtractive.
Yeah, I know, of course.
Like getting a Nike sponsorship is cool, hooray for you. That's not you selling out, but getting a sponsorship with some brand that everybody thinks is really like lame, that is selling out. You're obviously only doing it for the cash.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of guys that have held political positions or have swayed with the wind, just blown with the way, whatever it goes this way, whenever it goes that way. And the interesting thing is, even if they've made a ton of money from it, even if it's been advantageous in one domain, I actually think that if you gave them the opportunity, they would give all of it back and some to be able to regain their reputation. I think they would give anything they could to be back in the cool kids club. And there's no return policy on credibility.
Well, the other thing about reputation and credibility is it has to be consistent. So you have to it's like a brand. You're known for something. You're known for being strong. You're known for being self-confident. You're known for being Machiavellian or whatever it is.
Funny or lighthearted or, yeah.
And there's a certain kind of, shape to it. And if you're like all over the map and you're going over here, and your reputation is about that, it's about this, it looks weak. It makes it look like, because we want to feel like people judge on appearances. They don't judge on the reality of who you are. They don't know who I am or who you are. They judge on what they see and how we appear. And if those appearances, they want to have something consistent that they can grab onto. They want to say something simple. That guy is funny and that's who he is. This guy is that. They want a very simple formula. And if you can't be consistent, if you're all over the place, if you're changing your ideas, you're conservative, then you're liberal, blah, blah, and you're trying to tack with each wind to get power, yeah, you'll get some power that way, but it'll make you look weaselly. Mm-hmm. It'll make you look distrustful, and people won't like that, and your reputation will be one of somebody who has no soul, who has no core. So reputation also has to have a consistency, a core to it, a soul that binds it all together.
Especially if it seems like it's being done for a contrived reason. I think people are fine with people changing their mind as long as show me you're working. Explain to me how you got from that position to this one. Don't do it beyond the sort of tolerance level that we all have of, right, this is a little bit too much. Right. I've updated. I used to be pro this. Now I'm anti that. Yeah. I really do think an awful lot about the value of reputation. And in another way, it's never let anybody else define it for you. Allowing that sort of vacuum to seep in loses you your power over your reputation, and it allows other people to derogate it.
On the other hand, if you're a very Machiavellian person, poke holes in your enemy's reputation and you will destroy them. Bring up things that are inconsistent with their reputation and you will have ruined, be like popping a balloon. It'll just go whoop, like that, And I talk about how in that chapter, how P.T. Barnum played that game to ruin other people's reputation and make people wonder, is he really like that? I guess not, because I just saw this fact that contradicts it. So I'm giving you some very evil Machiavellian advice out there if you have enemies.
One of the meanest things, I'm not a mean person. I don't like being mean.
Yeah, sure.
It's true. But I spent 1,000 nights on the front door of nightclubs with drunk people. So you need a few defense mechanisms. And what you realize, especially when people have had alcohol, is that people fall into only a small number of buckets and behavior is usually pretty predictable. And one of the things that we realized as kind of a script that we could run when somebody was getting a little bit mouthy, remembering that we're flanked by big British gorillas But you're right. You've got door staff all around
Not
you. No, not me. I was the dude in the skinny jeans with the clipboard. I had the 6'6" dudes with leather gloves on either side of me. They were give me your ID, etc., etc. And one of the things that used to work, it was so mean, but it worked so well. If somebody they'd been ejected or they hadn't been allowed into the club or something had happened, we'd always say, "Mate, sorry, you need to get away from me. Your breath stinks." And it's completely unfalsifiable because unless someone's going to come over and smell it, they can't say, "No, it doesn't." And it just immediately enters this person into this. You just watch the color drain from them. So yeah, oddly, breath, apparently halitosis is reputation as well.
Or just body odor.
Yep.
That's great.
Any smell. It's so...
I'm going to remember that.
It's really good. It's your breath stinks. I need to can you give me a little bit of room? Oh, it's just used to pull people apart. In other news, this episode is brought to you by Element. For the last 3 years now, I have started my morning every single day with Element. It is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. Each grab-and-go stick pack contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. Sodium plays a critical role in reducing muscle cramps and fatigue while optimizing brain health, regulating appetite, and curbing cravings. I keep harping on about it because I can feel the difference. You should give it a try and see how you feel as well. Best of all, there is a no questions asked refund policy with an unlimited duration, so you can buy it for as long as you want. Try it all, and if you do not like it for any reason, they'll give you your money back, and you don't even need to return the box. That's how confident they are that you love it. Right now, you can get a free sample pack of all 8 flavors with your first box by going to the link in the description below or heading to drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. That's drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. Always stick to what makes you weird, odd, strange, different. That's your source of power, which is similar to occupy your niche. Embrace your strangeness, identify what makes you different, fuse those things together, and become an anomaly.
Yeah. Well, in this world, if you're replaceable, you will be replaced. Right? So if in your job, you're in your 20s and you're doing something that other people could do, by the time you become 28, they can hire somebody 24 when they hired you, but for less money. They will do that right away. It's a brutal world. So if you're replaceable, you will be replaced. So the only defense against that is to be irreplaceable in this world. And the good news is that you are at your core irreplaceable. There is something strange and weird about you. Once again, I hate to say it, but it's a chapter that I'm writing right now for my Sublime book. Okay, and I explain in Mastery where that comes from biologically, your DNA, how you are marked as a unique individual at birth, the combination of variants in your chromosomes. It's mathematically impossible for it to ever be replicated. Yes, the variations are marginal. The differences aren't great between you and me, but those little differences are the differences between me liking this kind of hip-hop music and you liking a different kind of hip-hop music, right? It creates your inclinations. It creates your tastes. And so what the game of life involves is knowing your uniqueness, is knowing who you are, is knowing what makes you weird and what makes you odd. Okay? And the problem is that we're social animals, and the pressure continually on us is to fit into a group, is to be like other people, to have their ideas, to have their values, to have their tastes, to dress like them. Okay? And that happens when you're young, you're in your adolescence. We all go through that phase. I went through that phase. But if you keep on that track when you're in your 20s and on, which is happening a lot today through social media, you're going to lose that sense of what makes you odd and different.
Mm-hmm.
I compare it to a voice. When you're very young, that little voice in you is going, Robert, you should be a writer. Chris, you should be a blah, 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 blah. I don't know what it is, right? It's telling you something. And as you get older, you don't hear it anymore because you're hearing all the other voices. You're hearing your voices of your parents, the teachers, the culture around you. your peers, your friends, telling you this is what's cool, this is what's not cool. And that little voice comes completely drowned out. And so you don't know who you are anymore. And you're afraid, particularly young people today. I mean, maybe it's always been that way, are so afraid of being different. They're so afraid of being odd. But look at all the powerful people in this world. Look at your Elon Musks. Look at your celebrities in entertainment, in business, in politics. They're one of a kind. They have I hate that word, but it's like a brand. They're different. They stand out for something that's truly different. Even Albert Einstein, there's nobody else like Einstein. There's nobody like Da Vinci. Okay? That's where your power lies. And you'll go, oh, but Robert, those are people that were brilliant, that were talented. I'm not like that. I don't have that. Well, bullshit. You do have that. It's just you're forgetting about it and you don't want to put the effort into it. I talked in Mastery of a woman named Temple Grandin who was born with severe, severe autism. And she was able to find her way to become a very brilliant professor, academic, writer about animals, animal behavior, and about autism itself. She found her way to it when she was 3 or 4, she couldn't even speak any language. She was going to be hospitalized. You have that potential. It's just you're not putting the effort into it. You were lazy. You want to fit into the group. You want to conform because it's easy. But your oddness, what makes you weird, what makes you different, that little strange quirk in how you want to dress yourself, that little strange quirk in your musical tastes, that little quirk in the food that you like to eat, that is who you are. Those are signs from deep within, from your core, from your soul. This is who you are. And if you lose that, not only are you not going to be successful in life, you will also lose yourself, and you will be unhappy, you'll be alienated from who you are. And you can get away with that when you're young because you're happy, you look good, you've got energy, things are going right. You get into your 30s and you're like everybody else, and you don't know who you are and you don't know what you like anymore, and you're just following the trends. You start to get depressed and you start going down this rabbit hole, and things can turn really ugly. So you need a bit of courage in life. You need to go, okay, I am weird. I am strange. Lean into it. So when I had the 48 Laws of Power, when I first wrote the book, without it being published yet, it was a very strange looking book, and it reflects my own strangeness. Things on the margins, stories, everything broken up, images, quotes here and there. It's kind of how my brain is, a hodgepodge, kind of a mess, really. And the publishers, they bought the book, but then they came back to us and they said, Robert, can you kind of maybe make this more like other books? Can you get rid of all those sections and everything? And I said, no, take it or leave it. This is the book as it is. It's odd, it's strange. They didn't like that because if it doesn't fit into all the other books that have had successful, it's too big of a risk. If this movie isn't like the movies that were made last year, who knows who'll go see it? People are so conservative. But because it was odd, it stood out and it was successful. If I had succumbed and I compromised and made it more like other books, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So sometimes you need a little bit of cojones, you need a little bit of courage, you need to stand up and say, I'm okay being different.
It's fascinating that lots of people, maybe most people, want to be extraordinary in some way, but also don't want to stand out in a way that allows them to be mocked. But, the latter is the price of the former. You can't behave the way that everybody else does and expect to not get the results that everybody else gets. It's like, I think about regressing to a mean that doesn't exist. That everybody is idiosyncratic and unusual in their own way. And we're all imagining this sort of odd 50th percentile avatar that is the most acceptable. But when we think about why we love the people that we love, we don't love them for how average they are. No one's ever said, do you know what it is? I'm just besotted with how predictable all of her opinions are. No one's ever said that. We love people for their eccentricities. And a friend George has the idea of non-fungible people, like non-fungible tokens, that it's irreplaceable. There is nobody else like them.
Yeah.
If you think about your favorite memories from your favorite people, it's not from the things that are easily replaceable. It's from the fact that they were just obsessed with football. And when the football was on the TV, you could talk to them and they wouldn't even turn to you. Or it was the fact that they hated violence, or they loved dogs. Every dog walked into the room and they would be gone. They would be away. That's what we love people for. And my favorite strange person from history is Salvador Dali. And I would take it one step further. You said you kind of have this, it's advantageous and also psychologically healthy for you to embrace who you are fully. I actually think in some ways it's maybe I would go as far as to say that it is our duty to humanity. I think it's our duty to embrace the things that only you can do.
Yeah, well, in nature, the diversity of species in a habitat make it vital, make it alive, make it sustainable. And that comes from mutations in the genetic code. Some insect has a mutation, and therefore a whole new species, a whole new thing splinters off from that, and it creates variety. Well, in human culture is like a habitat in a way. So you're marked with uniqueness by your genetic code. Insects don't really have individuality. We have individuality, and they are like mutations. And so your mutation, your difference, you being Chris, is for a purpose. You're marked that way because by mining your uniqueness, your weirdness, your oddness, your little quirky tastes, you're going to contribute something new to the culture. And in contributing something new to the culture, you enrich it and you keep it turning around and round and round. Cultures in the past that die on the vine don't have any variety. You know, you can look at like the Soviet Union at its most, decadent, or when it was really at its worst phase, like in the 70s and 80s. There's no change. There's no variety. Early on, there was all sorts of weird different voices. They ended up getting imprisoned and murdered. Okay, but a culture has to have variety. It has to have a diversity of voices.
Like a gene pool or an immune system.
Yeah. And so you, by being odd, you're contributing to that. You're contributing to the culture. By not doing that, you're not contributing at all. And it's a real waste of what nature gave you.
I always think, again, about Dali. I spent quite a bit of time researching him, and I think as brilliant as they were, Michelangelo didn't do Dali, and Da Vinci didn't do Dali. In fact, there's that famous job application that Da Vinci sends, I think, to the King of Italy. And Da Vinci's sort of listing all of the different things that he can do. I can make machines for war and a trebuchet and a blah, blah, blah. The final paragraph, he writes the sentence, also I can paint. I always think about also I can paint. Yeah. What is the also I can paint that I don't see in myself? What are the things that my friends really value? Perfect example, the guy that I was talking about earlier on, George. I've been learning a little bit about myself, and I discovered over the last year that I'm a people pleaser in some regard. And I was lamenting this to him over Christmas as we were driving to go and get food. And I sort of brought up something I'd done with him, which was sort of being overly cautious that I would have done something that would have annoyed him or stepped on his toes in some manner. And he said, I just want to sort of stop you there, because I'm aware that to you, you've been able to frame that as people pleasing in this thing that is malignant and you want to get rid of. But to me, that's you thinking about me first, which is actually one of the things that makes me love you as a friend. So be very careful sort of labeling areas, creating an unnecessary value judgment. And I think getting another perspective, and that really gave me pause. I just thought, yeah, I'm so agreeable with all of these things, and I hate disappointing people, and I think that other people's emotional states are my responsibility, and so on and so forth. And then I bring it up to a friend, and he says, yeah, that's why I love you.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a little bit of control over something. So if in certain situations, sometimes it's good to be able to not be so pleasing, because I'm a people pleaser too. It's my nature, so I understand that. And sometimes you have the feeling that it's not coming from the right place.
Correct. You're not choosing to, you're obligated to by your nature.
And you're feeling a little bit of fear involved in it.
Yep.
Fear of displeasing, a fear of rejection, a fear of being different. And it probably goes back to childhood and to my parents. We probably have similar parental dynamics. But what's good about what you're saying is, and I completely agree, and I wrote about this, I think, in Human Nature, is that you have this quality. You can't really control it. It's who you are. It's either genetic or it comes from those first couple of years with your mother or father. So make it work for you. Find the way that it's a strength and see it as a strength and use it, and don't have second thoughts about it. Use it for power, right? And don't be so conflicted about it. It's all how you look at it. And there's a reason why you're a people pleaser. And if you weren't a people pleaser, you wouldn't be doing podcasting. You'd be this asshole. I would never have agreed to be on your podcast, right? So it's just that in moments you wish you could control it a little.
It's kind of like the grass is greener thing that we were talking about before we got started. This assumption that the thing you don't have is more valuable than the one that you do, or that things would be fixed if only you could have that. But what else comes along for the ride? If you got rid of your people-pleasing nature, what are the little parasites that your lack of people-pleasingness would also have attached to it? Are you sure? Are you really sure that that's the thing that you want?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's where it comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what makes you different, and knowing these are things you can't really change. So my wanting to be a writer, or Tiger Woods wanting to be a golfer when he's like 2 years old, there's probably some genetic component in it. And maybe there's some early bonding, but there's probably a genetic component to it. You can't control it. It's who you are. And maybe that you can't control it is a good thing. And maybe it's there for a reason. And maybe if you wanted to do something else, it wouldn't work out. So my knowing that I wanted to be a writer instead of, a businessman or a lawyer like my parents wanted to be, probably saved my life, to be honest with you. So knowing what makes you different is kind of going to guide you past these dangerous moments in life, and make you want to change who you are, because you feel pressure, social pressure, to change who you are.
Yeah. To regress to this imaginary mean. Yeah, two elements I think of me that are genetically predisposed, or at least very deeply embedded. The first one is I've always liked to talk and ask questions. And as a child, I always used to get in trouble in school because, unfortunately, my voice appears to carry further than everybody else's. So even though the naughty kids would be genuinely being naughty, poking other people with fucking protractors or something, I would be the one that was heard. Even though I wasn't misbehaving as much, I would be the one that was heard. You're being nosy. Children should be seen and not heard. You stop being so why are you asking all of these questions? Would be one of them. And the other one is solitude. I'm an only child. I spent a lot of time listening to audiobooks in my room, playing with toys on my own, throwing a ball off the wall and seeing if I could kick it off that wall and then catching it. Hours and hours and hours, because I didn't have anybody else.
For me too.
Didn't have anybody else to play with. And you think, well, God, the things that you're punished for when you're a child are the things that you think are malignant when you're a child. You're often rewarded for if you can just find the way to alchemize them as an adult. So I'm sure that your ability to sit and read, or go to a cabin, or write in your room, and nobody's come and gone and you haven't noticed, and you think, well, my solitude as a child was maybe something that I lamented, or that I saw as a weakness, or something like that. And yet it's a superpower when I become an adult, if I can find the way to channel it. And the same thing for the question asking, or the listening to audiobooks. What's the 2024 internet version of an audiobook? It's a podcast. It's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It really just comes down to being aware of who you are, what makes you different, and being comfortable with it. And so you're going to have moments where you're not comfortable with it, and you want to conform, and you want to be like other people. And, you went through that, and I went through that in adolescence in particular, on through the 20s. You make some changes to things because you think it's cool, but you keep coming back. You keep coming back to being alone.
Mm-hmm.
You keep coming back to throwing the ball against the wall in some metaphoric way.
No. I kid you not. The way that I like to relax now in between sessions of work, I get a tennis ball and throw it against a wall. It's the most bizarre thing.
I had the same thing, but because I'm American, mine was baseball. And I had a ball and I'd throw it against the garage door and I would play all these different games with my glove on and I would catch it and I would imitate the crowd cheering me. And this was a home run, this was setter, and if I could do it today, I still would. So I understand that. But you come back to these things because they're so strong in you.
Yeah.
And you can't help it, and they give you relief, and they give you comfort, and they're who you are. And so it all comes down to, do you come back to these things, or do you change because of the pressures of other people? And what is the difference? Why are some people like that and some people are not? And that's the $1 million question.
I think it's swimming upstream or swimming downstream is working against or working with your nature.
Yeah.
And trying to find a way to make it work for you as opposed to trying to change it so that you can find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Sean Puri, who does My First Million, very, very smart guy. I remember one of the first conversations I ever had with him on Zoom. He had a sort of small leather black basketball in his hand. And we were just talking and he was a little bit further back in his desk and he was tossing it like this and rolling it along the desk and sort of you throw it in the air. Like, what? So it wasn't like we were writing anything. It was a casual conversation between friends. I said, what are you doing? He says, I grew up playing basketball. I'm happiest with a ball in my hand.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy fuck, that's me. Every time that I go to the park, if there's a tennis ball, that's now mine for the rest of it. And I'll bounce it in my hands until we finish up. And then I'll, the tennis ball charity pool that it goes back into the park. And I thought, holy fuck. So I came up with a name for that, which is a weirdness role model. And it's somebody who does a thing that sort of breaks the ceiling on what you thought was acceptable behavior. You've seen this guy do a thing and you go, oh my God, like maybe I could have a ball on my desk. Maybe I could have a tennis ball or a cricket ball on my desk. And that means that I can, because I've seen this guy do it and it's a weirdo role model or a weirdness role model.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we all need that in our life. People who are different. I remember in high school, I had an English teacher who kind of changed the course of my life. And he was very weird. He was very different. His way of thinking was different. And how he talked about writing and literature was very odd. And other students hated him. And I thought he was just fantastic. So it's kind of interesting what you said. There was a role model I could see. And he was just a high school teacher, so it wasn't like a career path for him. But I could see that having that kind of quality was a good quality, and I was attracted to it.
Traveling should be about the journey, not the chaos of packing, which is why I have been using Nomatic's Backpack and Carry-On Pro for over a year now. This thing is the best backpack on the planet. I did an entire month on tour on just hand luggage alone. It's like the Swiss Army knife of travel packs. They've got pockets for your laptop, your clothes, your snacks. It is so well organized that even your toothbrush feels important, and the amount of thought that they've put into every pouch and zipper is incredible. It's beautifully designed, it's not over-engineered, and it will literally last you a lifetime with their lifetime guarantee. So this is the final backpack that you will ever buy. Plus, they also offer international shipping, free shipping on orders over $49 in the United States. And if you don't like it for any reason, you can return or exchange it within 30 days. So you can buy it completely risk-free, fill it with all of your possessions, and if you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. Right now, you can get a 20% discount by going to the link in the description below or heading to nomatic.com/modernwisdom and using the code MW20 at checkout. That's nomatic.com/modernwisdom and MW20 at checkout. You are your own worst enemy. You waste precious time dreaming of the future instead of engaging in the present. Since nothing seems urgent to you, you're only half involved in what you do.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of who the human animal is. I like to take this out of the little specific and go into the meta area here. And what it meant to be human. We're a very creative species, right? We have language, we have consciousness, we have immense powers. Those powers developed under the pressures of necessity, of having to get things done, of having to survive in a very brutal, ruthless world where a leopard could pop out tomorrow and eat me, where there were dangers all around, where food was scarce. And under the pressure, we had to think, we had to be creative, we had to be inventive, we had to be strategic. The human brain evolved under immense amounts of pressure, okay? That's how the brain works. And I almost like to think of it in terms of barometric pressure. So in your brain, when you're feeling that barometric pressure, it's like, I got to get this done or I'm going to fail and this project won't happen and people will laugh at me. You work like a fiend. Energy, your whole body responds, right? Your blood gets moving. You accomplish things that would normally take you months. You do it in days because you feel that pressure. You take away that pressure and you don't know what to do. And I've got like 3 years, I could do this or that. Another, you just wander around, you're lost. You have no energy, you have no focus. You know, you're maybe playing video games, maybe you're watching porn, you're kind of distracting yourself in the moment. But it's, but your energy is just being dissipated in like 20 different directions. So your brain needs pressure. It needs constant pressure. And stress and pressure is not a bad thing. We have this thing where we feel like stress is bad. It's bad for you. Bad. You know, you need to relax, man. You need to chill. Stress will kill you. No, being bored will kill you. Not having anything to do will kill you. Is much more dangerous than stress. Yes, you can work too hard. You can work where there's no soul involved. I work like a fiend because I'm writing a book, and it's a very hard process for me. And I'm working far too much, but man, I love it. It's fantastic, right? And it could kill me. The stress could kill me. It gave me a stroke. But I'd rather die under the stress than be bored and have nothing to do, okay? So feeling that pressure, it makes your eyes pop open. It makes your brain focus. It makes you alert. It makes you want to live. It makes everything seem exciting to you because you've got to get things done. So I'm writing a book right now. I could take 12 years to write it, but that wouldn't be I wouldn't feel good about it. So I give myself deadlines. I gave myself a deadline of finishing this chapter by July 31st. Here it's August 10th. I haven't finished it, but now I'm working double hard to try and finish it in time. Because if I didn't have a deadline, I would take forever.
Mañana.
Yeah. So create pressure for yourself is a good thing. You know, I gave a talk recently in which I talked about Thomas Edison, the great inventor. And Thomas Edison was a young man. He's in his early 30s. He'd invented the phonograph and a new wave for the telegraph, but he hadn't really had any major inventions. He had started Menlo Park, his industrial park for doing research. We're talking about the 1870s, I believe. But he did something very interesting and very strange. I don't know how conscious it was, but he gave an interview with a newspaper. And he said, I've been working on creating the incandescent light bulb. Now, before that, there was the arc light, which was a light that was really powerful. It used far too much energy. You couldn't use it in the house. The way houses were lit was with gaslight. Gaslight was dangerous. It was explosive. And the companies in America that had a monopoly on it. So the prices, it was very corrupt business. So he goes, I'm working on the incandescent light bulb. The reporter's going, that's interesting. He goes, yeah, I'm close to nailing it. Wow. And he goes, yeah, and in 5 years, I'm going to light the entire city of New York with the incandescent light, with electric light. Whoa, they go crazy. They published this article, and the stock prices of gas start going down. Money flows into his coffers because the cheapness of a light bulb, the profits are just insane. So money is pouring in. He goes back to his Menlo Park where he develops ideas, and his employees who are reading about this go, Mr. Edison, what are you thinking? You had just tinkered with the incandescent light bulb. We're not even near inventing it. We're not even near creating it. And the idea of lighting New York, it's what were you thinking? What were you smoking? The equivalent thereof. And he goes, well, gentlemen, I said it to this major newspaper. We better get to work. We better make it happen. What happened with all the money that came in, he could now hire the people to do it. But the pressure of getting that done in 5 years made him do it in 5 years. It was a monumental work of persistence and discipline and detail. But he had a deadline. He didn't want his reputation. He didn't want to disappoint the public. He had to get it done in 5 years, and he did get it done in 5 years. So he created his own pressure by using the publicity angle.